Hello, everybody, and thanks for checking out the Rivals.com National Signing Day special, getting started very early in the morning, but setting the table with all the top storylines surrounding today's big day. And here to talk about it, nobody else bigger than Mike Farrell, the National Recruiting Director for Rivals.com. And Mike, let's get right into the major storylines of the day, starting with the number one player in the country, Rashan Gary. Obviously, Michigan is presumed to be his leader. He takes a visit to Clemson most recently. What's your take on who might steal his commitment here on National Signing Day?
Yeah, I was chasing stuff all last night on this. A lot of people, Michigan fans especially, assume this is just a done deal, has been forever. His ex-high school coach is at Michigan. All his friends are at Michigan. But this really did come down to the wire. As of right now, neither Clemson nor Michigan know exactly who he's going to pick. The intel this morning is leaning towards Michigan. A couple days ago, it was a little bit slightly towards Clemson. Even as late as last night was towards Clemson. I might be having Deshaun Hand PTSD because I thought he was a lock for Michigan and he chose Alabama. So maybe I'm overthinking this, but I'm going to go with Michigan. I think the comfort level, they've been his leader for the longest time. I know he has an uncle that lives close to Clemson. I know he loved that visit, but I'm going to go with Michigan right now. And I think, if they don't get him, we're going to see the fort on our Michigan site absolutely implode. But I think he's going to go to Michigan.
Okay, we'll be sure to keep an eye on that. Moving on, talking about the teams that are in the hunt to finish number one with the recruiting title. A lot of teams in the mix, a lot of teams needing big commitments down the stretch to kind of seal up that recruiting title. Alabama always in the hunt, Florida State, as well as UGA coming in with Kirby Smart. Mike, who do you think might take that recruiting title and maybe a team that could come in and surprise everybody?
Well, it's difficult this year more so than any year because usually it's just Bama. And if it's not Bama like last year, it's USC making a late charge and in line for a lot of five-star kids. But this year there's so many teams that are candidates. I'm going to say Alabama has a tremendous shot at this, because they could finish with as many as 4 or 5 stars. But watch out for Florida State as well. They're involved with a lot of kids down the stretch here. They're not going to get all of them. But if they pull a surprise with Jonathan Kongbo, who I think is leaning towards Tennessee right now, but they could pull that surprise, maybe get half of the 10, they could push up to number one as well. And as far as teams on the rise, Georgia has low numbers right now. I think they're going to finish extremely strong. And Texas, watch out for Texas. They're just outside our top 25 right now. I said they wouldn't push into the top 15. I'm going to be wrong. I think they could push close to top 10 depending on how everything falls and if Eric Fowler, the linebacker from the Austin area, decides to flip from LSU to Texas.
And obviously throughout the day we'll be keeping an eye on lots of five-star players either set to commit or reaffirm a commitment. There are a few five-star players that we are keeping a especially close eye on. Mike, 2 guys that you tagged as particularly suspenseful commitment announcements. And we'll start with the first guy you wanted to mention, Jeffrey Simmons. Where do you think he might go?
See, I'm the one who's picking Alabama. I think I might be one of the few picking Alabama. And again, this is a toss-up. I mean, Ole Miss has been his leader for the longest time. He's a Mississippi kid. There's confidence on both sides. I've learned that when in doubt, pick Bama because they rarely lose on five-star kids. They rarely lose games. But this is a toss-up, and it shouldn't be. This should have been Ole Miss for a long time. So Bo Davis, a tremendous job at Alabama getting this thing rolling, and we'll see. If I'm wrong, I'll obviously be killed by every Ole Miss fan, and if I'm right, nobody will care. But right now, I'm picking Bama, but 51-49 over Ole Miss.
And another player that we're going to talk about, a defensive lineman from the great state of Georgia, Derek Brown, somebody who was a 5-star, knocked down to a 4-star, back to 5-star again here at the end of 2016, coming down to graduation. Where do you think that he might go?
This one might not be as suspenseful. I think it's Auburn. A lot of people think it's Auburn. Tennessee, from what I understand, is kind of out of the picture. So if Tennessee's out, why wouldn't it be Auburn? The only thing that concerns me is a complete head fake here with Georgia. I know Georgia's still in the mix. I know Georgia's still in his mind. I know he's very tight with his family and wants to stay close to home. But everything I've heard as of last night is Auburn. But if he pulled out that Georgia hat, it wouldn't stun me at all. And I know, since he dropped them from his top 3 recently, I think, it may sound crazy that Georgia's still in here, but I'm going to go with Auburn. But I think it might be a little bit more suspenseful behind the scenes than a lot of people think.
So lots of eyes on those two guys, as well as you, Mike Farrell, who we will be bringing back later in the day throughout National Signing Day here on Rivals.com. Mike, thanks for getting out of your pajamas and joining us early. We'll be bringing you all the latest news and updates right here on Rivals.com.